Thunder Dave Steinman claims to have invented Mio Energy and to therefore be the natural choice for spokesperson of the brand.
Mio Energy is the greatest source of energy ever discovered.
Just hit the tag for me. Personal, portable, Mio Energy.
I just went on a vision quest.
How has life changed for you since you're now part of the UFC machine? You had that great fight, and now there's a rematch, and you're main eventing, as opposed to like when you're fighting for Itachi, or even when you were fighting for WEC.
The media coverage, the people, people notice you. Like I went to the movies last night and saw The Dictator, and just walking through the movie theater, I think had like 3 or 4 people kind of say something. And it's funny because it's always hipsters.
Really?
I had like 3 or 4 hipster kids. Like I go in the bathroom and some kid is, I'm washing my hands. Like, oh, what's up, bro? I can't wait to your fight. And I look over and he has like the same kind of hat that the leather hat that I wear. He has a hat on that's very similar. He's got a beard and a mustache. And, it was just kind of funny. 'Cause I guess where I live, Costa Mesa, is full of hipsters.
Right. That I actually deal with the same thing. I don't really consider myself a hipster. I don't consider myself a hipster, but you would like where I live. I live in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Are you familiar with that place?
Yes, very much so.
A lot of hipsters over there.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there?
Yes, I have, actually. I was out there for, when I went out for the Ultimate Fighter, we went over to New York, and, we had fun. It was, Chuck Liddell was out there when we were out there, so, I wanted to go see my friends, and he was staying over at Mickey Rourke's house, so we got to go. Mickey was living in the Meatpack District at that point. And plus, I wanted to take my friends that went out there to, try it out for the fight over the show, take them out, went to Lombardi's, and, ran around New York for a little bit, and it was a good time.
Wait, when was the Ultimate Fighter in New York? The tryouts?
Well, yeah, the tryouts in New Jersey.
Oh, you tried out for it?
Yeah.
Which season was that? The 135, 145 one?
Yeah.
And why did they pick you? You were like one of the top-ranked flyweights, bantamweights, whatever.
Well, it was kind of weird because I beat Jussier, and I walked in the back because they flew me out to Vegas again after that, and they said they loved me, all this stuff. And then we kind of said, no, we want to stay at 125 and carve out a niche myself. And then they called me a couple weeks later, like, well, you can't quit, you're fired, kind of thing.
Really?
I was like, wait a second. They didn't say that, but they were like, yeah, we just don't think you're good. I mean, maybe they just didn't get the call from us. I don't know. But it was more or less, I think they couldn't have me because of my criminal record.
Wow. Haven't there been guys on the show with criminal records before?
Yeah, that's kind of how I took it, though. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
What were you arrested for?
I've been arrested for fighting drugs and fighting and drugs and fighting and drugs.
Yeah. And I'm wondering because my colleague over at MMA Fighting, Mike Chiappetta, wrote a good story on you prior to your UFC debut about how you were when you were in WEC, like you sort of considered yourself a rock star, and then you got involved with, you would sort of get clean right before the fight and, go back using drugs and things like that. Now that you're a UFC star and probably getting noticed by a lot more people, have those temptations come back?
No. I mean, I'm past that part of my life. It's like, I don't know, maybe I'm just a different kind of person compared to your usual drug addict. But, I've got a family now. I've got a wife and a daughter. And I've surrounded myself. I still have my old friends. But, they're kind of not the people I hang out with all the time, obviously. I've surrounded myself with different people. And I'm too busy. I got too much to lose. I train too much. Like WEC, I would train maybe 5 times, once a day at best. Now I'll train like 2 or 3 times a day.
Did those sort of old figures in your life, maybe part of the time that you're moving past, come back when they saw that you were back in the UFC? Like, were people trying to draw you back into that place that you don't want to be a part of anymore?
No, not at all, actually.
No. Well, that's good.
No. Yeah, I think I don't know. I guess the friends that I had, I have, like I said, I don't need to get rid of these people in my life. I just, say hi and what's going on. I just don't really hang out with anybody. I don't really hang out with anybody except for my daughter and my wife.
That's
But they know their place.
When you look back at the first fight with Demetrius, what do you have to do differently this time?
I got to let go of my hands and my feet. I didn't really throw in that fight. If you look at my previous fights, I moved better. I wasn't feeling on feet in that fight. And really in this one, I have to just get more aggressive. I have to get my hands on him. I mean, we all saw what happened when every time I pinched up with him, either ended up on his back or we would get in a firefight and he would end up backing off. So I have to just rough him up. Dominic Cruz explained to me best a while back that you really have to turn it into a wrestling match with him. No matter what it is, he's just very fast, very squirmy. He can throw a lot of punches for a good amount of time. You have to just turn it into a wrestling match and rough him up.
And, I brought this up with Demetrius. I was talking to John Dodson over the weekend. He says he doesn't even, when you get him to the ground, he doesn't use his jiu-jitsu enough. He doesn't even try to go for submissions. Do you think that's a mistake on his part? That, more to your point, once you turn this into a wrestling match, you get it down to the ground, you're at a big advantage because of that?
Yeah, and, nothing against his jiu-jitsu, but, sorry, I'm not sorry. And the famous words of Pee Wee Herman, you're not going to submit me. I know I have much better jiu-jitsu and wrestling than you, so unless I make a huge mistake, he's not going to submit me. So hopefully he tries to play jiu-jitsu with me. That'd be kind of cool. I want to make my jiu-jitsu coaches proud, and I can submit him.
Did Pee Wee Herman say that? Sorry, you're not going to submit me?
No, he said, sorry, I'm not sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm just kidding.
But I think it was, sorry, I'm not sorry.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, you said you didn't let your hands go and all that stuff in the first fight. What about just the moment, the UFC debut? There was a huge crowd, international crowd. Did any of that get to you before the fight?
No, I thrive off that stuff. It's a good time. I guess I understand why people would be scared, but I'm on borrowed time. I don't let things like that really affect me in a negative way. I've learned how to fuel myself with all that stuff.
So what do you mean by borrowed time? You shouldn't even be here? That's how the way you view it in your mind, considering all that you've been through?
Well, yeah. I mean, not that long ago, I was dead on a doctor's table from drugs. So, I have a new lease on life. Since that point, I've become world champion. I have a wife and a daughter. My life has changed dramatically. I have amazing people in my life. Not that I didn't before, but now, I've let those people in more or less, and my life's turned out to be pretty awesome. Not gonna lie.
So you're saying you OD'd, right?
Yeah.
Well, how long ago was that?
3 years ago.
So you were still a very well-known MMA fighter at the time, right? You had already fought in WEC.
Yeah, I fought in WC. I was already out of there. And it was during that break in time when I was, I kind of disappeared. I wasn't fighting.
So what exactly happened? Can you explain to us? Because that's just a fascinating thing. You don't meet a lot of people who say something like that.
I just went to get tattooed and some drugs. And it wasn't like the fact that I was like, I'm getting tattooed, I need painkillers. It was, I have an excuse to get high. And I think I took some Oxycontin, some GHB, some Xanax, drank a little, smoked a little, and then I woke up on a doctor's, in a hospital, in the ICU or ER, whatever it is, 2 days later.
Wow. So you were officially out.
Yeah. Because it was a real overdose. I was in the hospital for a week. I aspirated, I stopped breathing, my heart stopped, all that kind of stuff where makes you dead, I guess you would say. And then I spent a week in the hospital, and then I left, and I saw the doctor another week later, and he was like, this is weird because I saw you, 10 days ago or whatever, and, I had to revive you, and now you're officially in better shape than I am.
Wow.
Than I've ever been.
That's amazing.
I just, I've always been in good shape. That's one thing I can always say to myself, that I've always been able to perform. I think that was it's just a genetics or God-given talent that I have.
And in that moment, like, do you even remember what it's like? Because it's funny. I was actually just talking about this with my wife yesterday. If when you die, do you feel it, or is it like when you go to sleep and you just sort of go out? Do you remember anything from that?
No, there was no light. There was no, there was nothing. No angels, no fluffy clouds. I woke up in a hospital with tubes in me and, all kinds of stuff that wasn't. Well, it was, I was on the verge of them putting me in just a coma, and they just were kind of like, well, your oxygen in your blood is real low, your lungs are screwed up from aspirating. We want to put you in a coma for, we want to induce you for a few days just to make sure, so your body recovers better. And I didn't want that, so I kind of told them, like, hey, like, is there any way we can not do that for a while? And they said yes, and we'll give you 12 hours to see if you get better. And I just got better. I did all my little exercises. They give you stuff to breathe into to see how good you're doing and all that stuff. And a few days later, I was up running around the hospital causing trouble, and just I don't know.
Have you ever done drugs since then?
No.
So that was it for you.
Yeah, because I was already sober for a little bit before that.
So
and
go ahead. Sorry.
I just I didn't tell anybody till after. I just kind of sat there, by myself. My dad knew, my brother knew. My dad just kind of looked at me. He's like, "Well, are you done? Is this over with?" And I just kind of I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry." I realized that I have so much to lose. It's not just besides the fighting. Besides then, I had nothing. I have a life and a family to lose that I didn't want to, I wanted to stick around for a while.
Were you married at the time?
No.
Okay, so all this, the baby, the wife, all that came after.
Yeah. Me and my wife, we dated before and then broke up. We dated through my worst part. We were both, drug addicts and did a bunch of horrible stuff. And then we both got sober on our own and then reconnected, and now we're married and have a baby.
Wow. So, and she's clean as well, right?
Yes.
That's amazing. And while you were doing this as a fighter, like, you look back at that point, you look back and say, I could have been so much better if I wasn't doing this, because there seems to be a correlation between you being clean and you going on this great run. Do you sort of look back and think what might have been? You could be maybe undefeated in your career.
Yeah. I wouldn't have got a freaking pistol whipped by Charlie Valencia in front of everybody. But, it is what it is, and I just look at it as life, life lessons, and this is what needed to happen in my life for me to realize that, I can do something great. And that's really all I'm trying to do, is just do something great with myself, and provide a good life for my family, and put on a good show for everybody.
And since then, no alcohol or anything, pills or anything like that, right?
No drugs. I'll drink a little bit. I was never an alcohol guy. I was always a pill guy. I'll have, a glass of, wine. Never during training. That's one thing. I don't really drink during training, so I'll have a drink or so with some business people. But I don't like going out much. I don't like clubs. I don't like partying very much. So it's just kind of, I don't know. Drinking makes me feel like crap. So I'm not a big fan of it. I always dread when I get talked into having one drink. I'm like, I'm gonna feel like shit tomorrow.
Yeah, I know what you mean. By the way, just to get the timeline correct, is this before or after the Dominic fight?
Oh, it's after.
This is after. So literally, you are actually undefeated since this moment.
Yes.
Since cleaning yourself up. Wow, that's amazing. So during the Dominic fight, you were using drugs and all that stuff, right? In the preparation for that.
Yeah.
You think you could have beaten him if you were clean?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Being more focused. That kind of made me realize that, I was able to do good things, and I think I always knew that. I will say for that fight, I did train harder than I had trained for any other fight because of the Charlie loss. That motivated me to train harder, but I was still eating horribly and was still doing drugs and stuff.
And your next fight after, like that fight was in January of 2009. Your next fight after that was in November of 2010. When did this happen, and how much time did you need to get back to fighting?
I was already training in good shape, so it wasn't very long. I was in the gym. The doctor said, "Okay, stay one more week out of the gym," and then I was back in the gym.
Amazing. And then you fought. Like how long did you need to fight again? Like before November of 2010.
I don't know. It was months.
Okay.
Kind of thing. It wasn't.
I'm just trying to give you props
I
here.
didn't fight right away.
I'm just trying to give you props here. You actually died and then came back and fought. If that ever happened to me, I would go sit in a hole for the rest of my life and just count my blessings. I don't want to walk across the street, you know? I'm trying to give you...
I don't know. It was an eye opener for me.
To say the least, right?
Yeah.
To say the least. Well, we look forward to your fight on June 8th, you versus Demetrius, #2. Can't wait for it. Thank you for sharing the story. I know you've said it before, but not to our audience, so we appreciate it very much. Best of luck to you and the family, and we'll see you in South Florida next week.
Thank you so much, guys.